Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report with the OTA news that you need to know today from Raiders practice. I'll also go through some of the biggest winners from practice today, just in terms of how everybody went out there, participated. Appreciate everyone tuning in. So first, I want to start here with the OTA news that the nation needs to know. First one, Christian Wilkins was at practice. Did not participate, no helmet, no walking boot. Did seem like he was in pretty high spirits from some of the videos that I saw, obviously on social media. Also reached out to a few people, and again, looked like Christian Wilkins was in pretty good spirits today. Though, Pete Carroll said that the Wilkins rehab process has been challenging, and the exact quote that Carroll went ahead and said is, he's not ready to get back out, and we're in the midst of a long, challenging process. So fortunately, there's a lot of time. I'm not going to lie, when you hear that, when it deals with a Liz Frank injury, dealing with a man that is over 300 pounds, it does make me a little bit nervous. I knew that Wilkins had a boot on before the NFL draft, and there's been a lot of speculation around what this foot injury is. You don't really have to give out any information this time of the year, and quite frankly, I'm actually surprised that Pete Carroll gave out that type of information today. But if you're a Raiders fan, you got to hope that Christian Wilkins gets back. The good news is it's May 21st. The good news is we still have over 3.5, basically like 3 months for him to be 100% ready to rock and roll for week 1 of the NFL season. If he does have to go through and get another surgery, though, he's going to be out and he's going to be missing some time. This one does make me nervous, though. I'm not going to lie to y'all. Other news that happened today was Kolton Miller. He was at OTAs today. He is still looking for a brand new contract extension. And, I know it was reported earlier this offseason, probably like in the beginning of May, that we didn't know if he was going to be there. The fact that he was there, the fact that he's been showing up, the fact that he's been participating, I think it just goes to show the level of leader, the type of man, the type of captain that Kolton Miller is, and the reason why he's one of the, fan favorite, I would say, for the Las Vegas Raiders. More news today around a big player was Malcolm Koonce, still rehabbing that ACL. He did speak to the media, and, every time I listen to Malcolm talk to the media, you could tell that, not that he doesn't want to talk to the media, but not everybody enjoys, talking to the media, and not everybody wants to do that because, they're always afraid, I think, of what you're going to say. Malcolm is like, what do you need? I'm going to give you the answer that's point A to point B, and he's going to give that to you every single time. But still rehabbing again from that ACL. Did not participate today. He did say, though, that he expects himself to be back soon, and you could tell that he wants to get back very soon. Another thing that I thought was interesting today was Laki Tasi, the Raiders International Pathway Program player. It's been a guy that I've mentioned a few times on the show, and I talked about the tush push in the video that I released a little bit earlier today, and Tasi was somebody that I mentioned in that. The fact that he was working with offense today does make me wonder if the Raiders' plan was actually to kind of use him, as like a tush push specialist. And obviously the tush push did not get banned. If you don't know what I'm talking about exactly, again, go check out the video that I put out a few hours ago on the Raiders Report. So through all the OTA news that happened today, if you didn't see the updates from the Raiders, you can always hit that subscribe button. You could always turn on those notifications. I promise you this, no matter if it's big news, no matter if it's little news, it depends how you're going to go about it. In the off season, I will do my best to keep you guys as up to date as humanly possible. And even though I'm chilling here at the Chat Sports Studios, I know I don't have all the graphics that I usually do, but we're actually pretty busy right now. Chugs is actually interviewing a former NFL player, so I was unable to get a producer today, which is why I need a producer. So if you're looking for a job, again, chatsports.com/Raiders producer if you're looking to work with me and Jeremy Chugs. All right, let's go now into the practice itself. And I'll be real, I thought defense did a really good job today. All the reports seem like that defense outshined the offense, which if you're keeping track at home, it's 1-1 now in terms of Monday seemed like an advantage for the offense. Today, Wednesday, was an advantage for the defense, so we're tied up at 1-1. What's concerning to me is Geno Smith threw 3 interceptions today. He did throw 2 touchdowns, but the 3 interceptions, it's a concern. Aiden O'Connell threw 1 interception today as well. But the reason why I'm not going to overblow it, it's because you got a brand new offense for one. You got a brand new guy in Chip Kelly, and Carroll even jokingly said today, get ready for Chip to show up tomorrow, and he's going to really try to go out and win that day, where Patrick Graham today switched a few things up with his defense, threw out some different looks, and obviously that ended up paying dividends. But another thing that the Raiders really tried to do today, push the ball down the field and, force the ball down the field. I think if you're at this part of the offseason, you want to see which guys you got that can go out and make some plays. And if I'm Geno, I'm trying to chuck the rock down the field and see what I got. I'm also just trying to see, what our secondary looks like. If I was a coaching staff, I'm not going to get too freaked out again. If Geno's out there throwing interception after interception, especially when we know this team really values taking care of the football. Every team values taking care of the football. But John Spytek literally said it earlier this week that one of the keys this season is taking care of the football. So you know that they're going to be looking at that. But if you're already really confident in your quarterback, and Pete Carroll said something today about Geno that I think is really going to maybe be an eye-popping statement for some people that watch the show. But at the exact same time, if I'm the Raiders, and my biggest question mark on defense is my ability to cover, and I would say that that's probably the Raiders' biggest question mark right now is their ability to cover, I'm going to tell my quarterback, I'm going to tell my offense to test those guys out. Luckily for us, our defense answered the call today, and that's all you can really ask from your guys. So since Geno did end up throwing 3 interceptions today, 2 touchdowns, I got a question for the nation out there, and I'll make this the pinned comment here on today's show, which means you're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. While that ad is playing, I want you to scroll on down and give me your answer to this question. How many interceptions will Geno Smith throw this season? My answer coming up after this YouTube ad break. I'm going to sit here and go 9 interceptions, but it's got to be less than 10. I do anticipate that Geno is going to throw the rock quite a bit. I do honestly believe that he's going to throw for over 4,000 yards. I think he's going to be somewhere around that 27, 28 touchdown number with this Raiders offense this upcoming season. But the interception number's got to be limited. He's got to be somewhere around under 10 to me. I'm thinking, though, that number's going to be around number 9. Coming up next here on the show, let's talk about some of the winners, some of the guys that stuck out today during the practice overall, and I'll even say, who scored touchdowns, who threw or who caught some interceptions. Before that, I do that though, huge shout out to our sponsor, Prize Picks. Springtime is here and baseball season is officially underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Picks lineup, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash today. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. On Prize Picks, you can also mix and match player projections from different sports. So if you're watching, hockey tonight and you want to watch the Dallas Stars, you could go with Dallas Stars. You could also go with the New York Knicks. You could go a multitude of different ways. Prize Picks also offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. So download the app today. Use code CLNS, and you're going to be able to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, so let's go to some of the winners here. I'll first start on the offensive side of the football, and then I'll talk about some of the winners on the defensive side of the football. Again, like when you see a lot of the people that are reporting some of these plays that are being made, and when I reach out to a lot of the people after practice, there's a lot more good than bad. Quite frankly, I didn't really get any bad notes at all, which is an encouraging sign, because if there's another very clear underlining aspect, I guess, from Raiders practice, if you will, it's Pete Carroll's going to make sure that you guys are out there competing. Pete Carroll's going to make sure you guys are out there doing your thing. He's also going to make sure, though, that you're having a good time and you're enjoying being out there, and that's very, very clear. But players on offense today, Tre Tucker really, really showed up. I asked a few people who they thought was the biggest winner. Tre Tucker was a name that I got more than once. He had from what I understand, a beautiful touchdown catch where he fully laid out. Geno hit him deep, and you're kind of hoping Tre Tucker turns into that Tyler Lockett type of, deep threat. And if Tucker's able to kind of build on the success that he had last season, who knows? Maybe he could be the wide receiver 2 over Jack Bech. I'm still going to bet it's Jack Bech, though. Another guy that looked really good today, Thornton Jr. He had a nice touchdown catch today. He ended up beating Jeremy Chinn. We'll talk about Chinn here in a little bit, but the fact that Thornton Jr. is catching touchdown passes this early from Geno Smith, I'm glad you can't see under the table. That's all I'm going to say. I got some notes today that Alex Bachman apparently made some really clutch catches looked really solid overall, being a route runner. And, Bachman, are we going to have another example of somebody that's kind of going underneath the radar? Don't really think that he's going to make much of an impact, but because he is a professional in the sense of, I'm going to run the routes you need me to run, I'm going to be right where you need me to be, and if you put that ball on a target, I'm going to catch it. From what I understood, that was Bachman today. Another guy that I got some notes on that looked good was Michael Mayer. Very encouraging signs. Heard he made a few clutch catches. Apparently, one of the catches that he made, he had to go up and get the ball. Took a hit, which I don't know how big of a hit you're going to be taking in mini camp, or not mini camp, in OTAs, excuse me. But Michael Mayer was a player that showed, I guess, good early on chemistry with Geno Smith. On the defensive side of the football, Jeremy Chinn today was, from what I understand, the top defensive player for the Raiders. Literally the very first play of 11 on 11s, Chinn ended up picking off Geno Smith. Again, he did give up a touchdown to Thornton Jr., but from what I gathered, that wasn't a Jeremy Chinn issue. That was more of a great ball placement by Geno. Thornton, 6'5", back of the end zone, good play overall. Tommy Eichenberg, he had an interception. Lonnie Johnson Jr., he had a pick. Though Lonnie Johnson Jr., he actually ended up intercepting Aiden O'Connell. Chris Smith, he had an interception today. That one was against Geno. So the people that picked off Geno were Jeremy Chinn, Tommy Eichenberg, Chris Smith. Lonnie Johnson Jr., he's a new strong safety. I think he's going to be probably a little bit more of a special teams guy for us this upcoming season. But he ended up picking off AOC. I had a note today that Laki Tasi looked really good today. Shows that, he's got that big body that the Raiders are looking for in the interior, eating up some space. And with some of these injury concerns around Christian Wilkins, Laki Tasi really might, be able to prove a solid role for him. Also, a young defensive tackle along the lines of John Ulalu. He's also really been impressive from what I understand. And then another note that I got today from defense, Landon Roberts showing early on that he is going to be the leader of this defense. I got a note from somebody that says from the first 2 days of OTAs, not that you're going to forget about Robert Spillane, but if you're curious about who's the guy filling in for Spillane, it's a Landon Roberts, just being that green dot linebacker, being the vocal guy, and he's really enjoying so far that role, and he's shining in that role. But overall today, the defense outshined the offense again and ended up getting a win, and right now that series is tied 1-1. Offense won on Monday, defense ended up winning day 2 here on Wednesday. Coming up next, what I want to talk about is just some press conference takeaways again. Malcolm Koonce spoke a little bit today, which very soft-spoken guy. Max Crosby spoke today. Max actually talked about playing in the Olympics, which I thought was cool, and he literally said that he would play in the Olympics because it'd be an easy gold medal because the U.S. would just run train on everybody else. But then he was like, it just depends on the scheduling. And then somebody said, well, it would be during training camp. And he's like, well, then I'm not going to do it. So, and that was kind of my standpoint. If a player wants to go out, an opportunity to represent the United States of America, but again, in the year 2028, Max Crosby, I believe, will be in his 30s then. And, if he wants to represent the United States, go ahead and do it. It can't interfere with anything actually Raiders related. You know what I mean? Like if Max Crosby's competing in the Olympics, go ahead, Max, go do it. But if you're missing, training camp time, then don't do it. And that's basically what Max said. Last thing here, though, again, is just some notes from Pete Carroll today and what he had to say in terms of his press conference. He said that Jeremy Chinn is already showing up, that he's a leader. So not only did Chinn have a good day at practice, he's also impressing, Pete Carroll. And could we see Chinn be an early candidate, if you will, to be a team captain? You also got to remember that Chinn was with the Washington Commanders last season, was with Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn comes from the Pete Carroll tree. So, maybe it's an easier transition from him. Eric Stokes and Landon Roberts are impressing Pete Carroll early on, and maybe Stokes is kind of, separating himself a little bit in this cornerback battle. Brock Bowers, Carroll said he's doing everything that you ask of him, and he makes himself available, which I love that last part because not every player that is a superstar makes himself available to players, coaches, and anybody that is asked. We see it all the time. Brock Bowers is a humble superstar. Ashton Genty is a humble superstar. Jackson Powers-Johnson, humble superstar. So when you add a lot of these young players, I think you can clearly see what the Raiders' direction is that they're trying to go in. More notes here was the secondary today showed a lot more confidence, which you love to see. Pete Carroll called Geno Smith an elite quarterback in this league, and I do really think that Geno in the right situations can look elite. And, he can look really damn good pushing the football down the field. And when you just hear a guy in Pete Carroll call somebody elite, especially calling Geno Smith elite, I think that just speaks volumes of what they think of their quarterback and how much that they're relying on him this upcoming season. Pete also said that it was a good choice on keeping the tush push, which I thought was kind of funny because, again, the Raiders were one of the 22 teams that voted to ban the tush push, and maybe they did that because they were planning for other things in the works. But I would say this. If you haven't seen my take yet on the Raiders and the tush push, it is the video that I recorded a little bit earlier today, probably at this point 2-3 hours ago, so please go check it out because I do think that the Raiders were planning on the tush push being banned, which is why I think that they ended up voting against it. But also 13 out of the 14 teams that play the Eagles this upcoming season voted against it. The only team that voted to keep it was the Detroit Lions. The final thing was this. Somebody asked the question in regards to the preseason. If you don't know the preseason schedule, the Raiders play the Seattle Seahawks on August 7th, and then they play the 49ers on the 16th. And then they play the Cardinals on the 23rd. I don't remember the exact times associated with those games. The times are out. But my point of why I'm even talking about this, somebody was like, what can we expect from the preseason? And Pete Carroll said, every game is a championship game. So I don't know what that means exactly, but Pete does really value the preseason, and he should value the preseason. Quite frankly, if the preseason didn't exist, I don't know if he would have started Russell Wilson when he did, and, the rest could have been history. But very, very intriguing overall. I did just see the full quote here on Pete Carroll in regards to the Christian Wilkins injury, and this is how I'm going to leave you guys today. This has been a difficult recovery. He's done everything he needs to do. He's been here every day. He's here early working hard, but we are still working on it. He's not ready to get back out there. We're in the midst of a long, challenging process here. Fortunately, there's a lot of time. We're going to take every bit of it. We're trying to be really diligent. He's been on board the whole time, but it has been challenging. So that is what Pete Carroll had to say on Christian Wilkins. And again, this time of the year, coaches don't always share that information. So maybe it's a lot more frustrating for Pete than what a lot of people initially, believed. I still don't know what exactly to believe because in my mind, if it's been challenging, then why the hell is Christian Wilkins not participating, but he's been out there and he's been doing drills in non-mandatory things. If it's been challenging, let him rest for a few months. Let him still, try to stay in shape. But if that foot is an issue, let's get that freaking shit fixed, man. I don't want to have to deal with this bullshit in June, July, August. And if I have to deal with it in September, that's when I'm going to be frustrated. And I think a lot of Raiders fans will feel the exact same way because if we already know that this is potentially an issue, it's May. Let's freaking nip it in the butt and let's get it going. If it's not that simple, then why is there no new information from March, April, May? Why are we just dealing with this now? Those are my 2 cents. Appreciate everyone tuning into today's show. And again, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you guys click that big old red button underneath this video that says sub. Make sure those notifications are turned on. And the next time that you're going to see me here on the Raiders Report is going to be tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. If you're looking for more Raiders videos, click the subscribe button right here. I promise you I'm going to keep you guys up to date. I am going to do my best every single day to get you guys videos. I put out a video on this channel every day for the last 5, 6, 7 years. I don't even know at this point. So you can click this video if you want more. And then if you're looking for even more content, I promise you I got you covered. YouTube is going to recommend these videos for you, but you will miss it unless you're subscribed.